Tonight is Repro Shabbat, the Sabbath when clergy around the country are speaking out in support of reproductive rights. I have given this sermon on this Shabbat many times, as have my colleagues. The question is, why tonight? Why is tonight designated Repro Shabbat? It's because we are reading Shabbat Mishpatim, the portion that lays out law after law after law. One of those laws is about what happens when two men are fighting and a pregnant woman gets caught in the brawl and miscarries. If Judaism believed that life begins at conception, the punishment for causing this loss of life would be death. That is not what happens. The woman miscarries and the punishment is a fine that is determined by a third party. Of course, in our modern times, this decision isn't without its stipulation. Ending a life is still ending a life. But Judaism allows for the ending of a pregnancy when the physical health of the mother is in danger, and as Jewish law has evolved, it now considers the mental health of the mother and the possible mental strain of having a child or having another child might cause. Jewish law is looking out for the health of the mother as well as the health of the family, the mother who is already living and might have other children to care for, takes precedent over life that is still in potential. Not allowing for reproductive rights is against Jewish law. Mishpatim is also replete with texts that don't sync at all with our behavior. For example, this portion begins with the story of ear piercing. Raise your hand if you have your ears pierced. Okay? According to Mishpatim, if you have a servant and they've worked for you for 7 years, you're supposed to let them free. If, however, they do not want to be set free, you are supposed to take that servant to the lintel, the doorpost of your house, take their ear, and drive a nail through it. In ancient times, ear piercing was a sign of indentured servitude. So what do we do with that? Bela, my daughter, has gotten into ear piercing lately, and I have too, because when your teenage daughter asks you to get your ears pierced with her, there is only one answer, and the answer is yes. Am I going against Jewish law? Turns out I am not. The rabbis go back to the Talmud and other texts that say that the difference is there are more texts supporting the idea that women beautifying themselves with jewelry overrides this text. They argue that we understand now that we are not entering voluntary servitude, but rather earrings are cute and they're a way to express your style. Please do not send me your kids who want to pierce other parts of their body. I do not have any text to back that up. I will be of no help. This portion also has in it an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. When we see the mandate like this one, we have to ask ourselves two questions. Were people really doing this, taking an eye for an eye, or was it a way to say to people, don't do this? Many scholars believe that the story of the binding of Isaac is actually included in the Torah as a polemic, which is an argument against child sacrifice, because other people around Abraham were sacrificing their children, and Jews then and now find that abhorrent. So should we read an eye for an eye that way too? That it is written there because we should not exact retribution. If I am to be honest, there are times when it feels like an eye for an eye is the only way to feel a sense of justice, like now, when we know the fate of the Bibas family. It is in these moments that we pray are few and far between. Even the most peaceful among us feel a sense of rage that cannot be quieted. We feel there is a fire in our chest, and the only remedy is for whoever hurt us to feel the pain that we are feeling. And when that pain is shared by the entirety of the Jewish people spread over the globe, the power of that feeling is overwhelming. We are a family in mourning. We feel a sense of collective loss and pain. There isn't enough black ribbon in the world to wear over our hearts. We feel this fire and we feel this grief, and when we feel like this, an eye for an eye feels understandable. And yet, this is when we must return to who we are as a people and a faith and say no. Rage and revenge, as much as we might feel it and we might want it, will not bring those babies back, or their mom, or Oded, or the hostages we know have not survived. And we come to our senses and we say no. But then we see the parade in Gaza, the music, the celebration, and the rage rises again. You have to ask yourself, do they have no heart, no soul? Do they not see that we are shattered? These onlookers had babies on their shoulders and in their arms. Are they that infused with hatred that they cannot even give us at least silence? A drop of respect for the dead. No one expected them to cry with us, but could they not even respect us enough to just let our dead come home without cheering? And then Judaism tells us, in a place without human beings, be a human being. In Gaza yesterday, I wasn't sure what I saw. I know I had trouble finding human beings. I don't know about you, but I am struggling to find my own humanity when I feel like there is no one giving the Jewish people that same courtesy. Were these human beings at the parade so completely devoid of compassion that they cheered the death of our babies? Were these human beings that have the power to hate so thoroughly that the anguish of our people means absolutely nothing to them? It just seemed that way. Perhaps it is because we do not see our dead sons and daughters as martyrs. We only see them as gone from this world, never to come back, and forever leaving us torn and wrecked. Where do we find silence? Feels like everywhere but Gaza. The Jewish people are suffering, and we are being met with silence. Please don't tell me about politicians that want to raise Gaza and how that is supportive. It is not. We can discuss that at another time, but I want recognition that our people are being killed and their deaths are being celebrated. I want condemnation for the supporters of these crimes against humanity. I want even 1 ounce of compassion, and all we're hearing is silence. Yesterday, Israeli singer Omer Adam sang in Hostage Square. He sang a song called One Human Tissue. Part of it goes like this. When I shall die, something of mine will die in you. And when you'll die, something of yours in me will die with you. We want an eye for an eye because we lost a piece of our hearts when their hearts stopped beating. Because we are human beings. We are Jews with the breath of God in our lungs who respects the breath of God in other people. We are Israel, people who wrestle with God and man, and ultimately we will prevail. Sometimes justice just doesn't feel just, but we cannot and do not change who we are. We do not become a reflection of hate. We are the embodiment of life. For the Bibas family and all the hostages that were taken, and those that returned either forever changed or forever lost, there isn't enough justice in the world. So what do we do? Some people are suggesting making a lot of Jewish babies and naming them Kfir or Ariel, or for converts to Judaism, take the names Kfir and Ariel. If that is not possible for you, do what Jews have always done for centuries. Do a mitzvah in their name. For Sherry, for Kfir, for Ariel, for Hirsch, for Oded, for the hostages that are still in the dark. Make Judaism the center of your life and tell your friends who feel like this has nothing to do with them, Jewish or not, that it has everything to do with them. If nothing else has yet to awake their soul and realize that we are in this together, whether they like it or not, this should. I don't mean to be harsh, but the Germans did not ask anyone who they voted for or what protests they attended. They didn't care. Nobody else does either. These babies are ours. Their mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters are ours. Full stop. The entire Jewish world is crying, and still doesn't feel like there are enough tears. We cry tonight for justice of all kinds, for justice in reproductive rights, for justice in the application of the law, justice for crimes against humanity. We also cry for Yarden Bibas, father of Ariel and Kfir and husband of Sherry. We cry for Sherry's return. We cry for Oded Lifshitz, the fourth body that returned, who was a Gazan activist who used to drive sick children from Gazan hospitals to Israeli hospitals to receive a higher level of care. Yarden, please know we are crying with you. To all of the families, to all of the people of Israel, we are crying with you. I would like to share lyrics from a song shared with me by Maya Greenboim, one of our loving connections to our Israeli family, as she and her husband are Israeli themselves. The song is called Tears of an Angel, is an Israeli song that she told me has been playing on loop on all the radio channels and social media in Israel. Angels' tears, quiet tears, pretty and sad tears. The tears flow along the horizon and searching. What do they ask for? Because when the angels cry in a different world than in this world, we are much more sad. Angels' tears, why do they cry, the angels? Perhaps because it's not easy to be an angel in such a sad world. And also, we right here want to cry with them. What should we do? We want to cry, but the tears do not come out. Because when the angels cry in a different world than in this world, we are much more sad. We are much more sad. Hamakom yenachem kulanu. May God comfort all of us. Shabbat shalom.